This video is about playing two strings at the same time on a fiddle. We call that playing a double stop. And the thing that I usually hear from people when they're learning to play two strings is when I try to play one string, I play two, and when I'm trying to play two, I play one. So I'm going to give you some hints that should help you playing double stops. I would say 99% of the people find this to be very difficult. The other 1% just does it and doesn't seem to know that it's difficult, and it's very easy for them. So if you're one of those people that find it easy, that's fantastic, and we're glad for you. For the rest of you, this video is for you. One of the things that you'll probably want to do is pick a song that's really easy for you, and I'm going to demonstrate using the song Bile and Cabbage down, and I'm going to use a very simple version of the song. That way you're not having to think about your left hand, but you can be thinking about your bowing, and that's going to be a big thing. The easiest way to play Bile and Cabbage down is just to play it on the A string by itself, and if you do that, I'll show you. We'll just play it this way, starting with your second finger. 3, 2, 1, 2, 3, 2, 1, open. Now I can do the same thing with two strings. And that would be the easiest way. Now when you're thinking about playing two strings, some of the things that you need to know about. The first thing is don't press down harder with your bow. Sometimes when people are learning double stops, it's a very common thing. They think if they press down hard enough with the bow that they can press both strings down, and if they force enough pressure, they'll get them both down at the same time. The problem with that is now you're playing two strings instead of one. You're getting twice the friction with your bow because you're playing two strings, and you're not increasing your bow speed any, and so you start to get this kind of a sound. And so you want to make sure that you don't press down too hard. You need a little bit of bow pressure, but really no more bow pressure for two strings than you do for one. However, you may need some more bow speed, or you may need to tilt your bow so that you have less friction so that you can still get a good sound. So if I'm going to tilt my bow, what I want to do is I'm going to take it and tilt the hair towards me so that the bow is away from me a little bit. And what that does is that means you're playing with about half of the bow hairs. Now you don't want to tilt the bow so much that you're playing on the wood stick part of the bow. You're just going to tilt it a little bit. The second thing is you may want to increase the bow speed so that you're not playing the song any faster, but you're moving the bow faster. So instead of playing, and a lot of times when people go to double stops, they resort to using smaller strokes instead of longer bow strokes. And the problem with that is it's easier to stay on two strings when you use a smaller bow stroke, but you can't get a good sound that way. The way you're going to get a good double stop sound is by learning the angle that your bow has to be on the strings. And there's no substitute for learning that except for practice. Now there are a couple of tips and tricks that you can use to help you with that. One of them is you can just rock your bow, put your bow right on the bridge, and if you notice, when I'm just rocking my bow, I can see and feel the angle that my bow has to be for each individual string. And I can do that again out here, right here, and then what you can do is play the E string and the A string and go back and forth between them, and then play them together. And when you get them with a slow bow stroke or a short bow stroke, then try to lengthen that. And then you can do the same thing with the next two strings. when you can do that without playing a song, then that's when you might want to add it to a song. And you'll want to do that again with the low strings as well. The other tip that I've heard is that, and you can use this, it's very helpful, I've heard it that you're going to pretend like there's an imaginary string between the two strings that you're playing. So let's say you want to play the E and the A strings at the same time. You're going to pretend that there's an imaginary string between the E and A string, and you're going to try to play that string. You can even go so far as taking a pencil, and you can even put a little mark right there on your bridge. And I don't know if you'll be able to see that on the video or not, but that way you're doing it facing you so that then you can see that mark, and you're going to look at that mark and try to play that invisible string. And see if that helps you any. Some of the other songs that it's easy to add double stops to, another one would be Old Joe Clark. If you know Old Joe Clark, on part A of the song, you can play the exact same thing that you normally play, only you're going to play A and E at the same time. You won't be going back and forth between the two. So if you have an easy version of Old Joe Clark, something like... you can play both strings at the same time. Don't change anything with your left hand. Now I'm going to take you one more time back to Bile Them Cabbage down. Once you kind of get the double stop down, I'm going to show you another double stop that you can use in place of just the third finger alone. So when you're playing Bile Them Cabbage down, and every time you go to the third finger on A, you want to also add the first finger on E, and you're going to get a better sound when you do those two together. So you've got... Remember, long bow strokes. Remember, correct bow angle. Don't press down too hard with your bow. Tilt the bow hair slightly towards you, bow away from you if you want to reduce the friction. And play it confidently. Even if you don't play it, even if you don't feel confident, if you don't play it confidently, it's not going to sound good even if you get it right. So you want to play it with confidence, play it like you mean it, play it like you think you're the best player that there ever was, and that will help your sound, and it'll help you get a better sound from those double stops. Imagine a string in between the two strings that you're playing, and hopefully these things will help you get a good double stop. Thanks.